We're now going to move on to Georgina Wakefield, whose son has been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And Georgina, I think you're going to talk about more of a story of recovery. To a certain extent, okay, thank you.
Our youngest son, Christian John, suffers from schizophrenia. He suffers each day in silence with a kind and gentle demeanour, but looked deeply beyond his label to the baby I held in my arms, to the happy, mischievous 4-year-old who captured the world with his charms, to the bright, intelligent 10-year-old who excelled at school and his study, to the 12-year-old football fanatic who'd come home exhausted and muddy, to the carefree, handsome teenager who'd greet me each day with a kiss, to the son I'd lay down my life for, but the man I was destined to miss. He waded through the torment, hallucinations and angry voices, robbed of the sweet years of youth and denied so many choices. He dealt with public ignorance and the pain that goes with stigma, accepting that mental illness is viewed as a kind of enigma. Because our son was sent on a journey, there were demons he had to face, along with horrific memories he struggled each day to erase. A journey so long and relentless we can never measure the pain. So many times he'd stumble and fall, and then rise to his feet yet again. Now he's quiet and unassuming, but to us he stands out in the crowd. He's the son he was always destined to be, and one word describes our feelings, and that's proud. So like Terry, I feel very, very passionately about people with schizophrenia. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've suffered from, I think, cyclothymia. I was never actually given a diagnosis. Although from the age of 18, I'm now 64, I was put on various medications, including lithium carbonate, for about 3.5 years. And I got a lot better when I got past 40. Unfortunately, 2 years on, Christian developed paranoid schizophrenia at the age of 16. He's now 38. So I'll attempt to cover 21 years in about 7 minutes. He developed schizophrenia at 16. He's 38 and lives independently, has done for the past 10 years, works part-time, 6 hours a week, and employs a personal assistant through the direct payment scheme. My observations as a carer are around relapse prevention. My web address is georginawakefield.wmv if anyone would like you to look at my website. I run Spotlight on Schizophrenia, which is a small management consultancy. I've written 3 published books about schizophrenia. My family have taken part in 9 films, including a BBC documentary called Loving Christian, and my son took part in the film too. For the past 11 years I've delivered the carer's perspective to many practitioners. My long-suffering husband has been heavily involved too. I work for the Institute of Psychiatry, South Essex Partnership Trust, St George's Hospital in Tooting and 2 universities. I urge you all to look at a poem on the internet which is entitled The Ambulance in the Valley. It was written 115 years ago, and it refers to these people falling off the edge of a cliff. But instead of putting a fence around the top to protect them, we've put an ambulance in the valley. But sadly, I feel that is still going on today. We haven't learned very much. Christian was on depot injections for 9 years. When he was 21, I heard about clozapine, which is for treatment-resistant schizophrenia, and went to see his GP. Unfortunately, I wasn't very well versed as a carer then, and the GP said, I've got a letter here that states it wouldn't matter where you took your son, so I've no intention of referring him to the Maudsley Hospital. Unfortunately, we took that on board and just accepted it. And for the next 2 years, Christian gradually got worse. He was on a drug called Piportil. He relapsed 2 days after Christmas at the age of 23 in 1997. Spent 5 years in care, costing thousands of pounds. I feel if it wasn't for the direct payment scheme providing him with a personal assistant, which was put in place on our insistence really, because we didn't give up, when Christian came back into the community, again there was no support for him. So we thought we've got to do something to prevent him from relapsing again. I'd like people to compare the cost of inpatient care to the cost of Christian's direct payment package, which is about £180 a week. But the cost of inpatient care is a hell of a lot more than that. Not only does Christian get direct payments, but my husband and myself have had, not last year but the year before, we had 16 nights away, and last year it was dropped to eight nights away, and that helped us to recharge our batteries. Look after the carers, that's cost effective too. I've made a few bullet points which I feel are of the utmost importance. I feel the initial assessment should be carried out by someone who's competent and experienced and empathetic. There should be regular follow-up appointments. Continuity of care is of the utmost importance rather than a series of different practitioners. There's a massive need for psychoeducation for families. I found the hardest part was understanding what my son was going through. So psychoeducation with a view to informing sufferer and the family about the illness, and in particular how to recognise symptoms and the triggers that can all too often lead to relapse. Family work or family therapy is needed to enhance positive relationships between family members and reduce high expressed emotion. Talking therapies. We tried to get talking therapies for Christian, and it was a 2-year waiting list, so we went privately, not realising we were doing the wrong thing. Christian's very thought disordered. He's been lucky enough to have a talking therapy, which is called the concept of the other mind, which has improved his insight into his condition. But this wasn't 12 weeks of CBT, which is recommended by the NICE guidelines. This was 3.5 years of group therapy, one-to-one therapy, art therapy. 12 weeks of CBT is totally inadequate for people like Christian. I feel that antipsychotic medication should be kept to as minimal as possible, and regular physical health checks should be made. A large number of people suffering chronic psychosis do not have family who are prepared to devote their lives to being advocates and to caring for them. Most eat poorly, take no exercise, and have difficulty in doing daily tasks necessary for a reasonable quality of life and for good health. This of course all costs money. Christian works part-time at a local hospital in the admin department. He just manages to work 6 hours a week. This has given him social interaction and structure. Ask any mental health carer what they want for the person they care for, and they will say a better quality of life. Our biggest challenge throughout this journey, surviving with our family unit intact, and stigma, which I hope to talk to on the tables. And I'd like to finish, if I've got time, with a poem called Love, that won the Rethink Pringle Arts Award this year. If I had a physical condition, people would rally round. They'd visit me in hospital and praise the courage I'd found. If I had a physical condition, I'd get flowers and get well cards. There'd be comforting words and respect for this time in my life that's so hard. But I'm suffering from mental illness. I'm on a mental health ward. Seems like I'm to be avoided. I'm to be ignored. If I had a physical condition, my family would be given support. They wouldn't be falling apart at the seams, anxious, depressed, overwrought. This is going back. Things are much better now through the direct payment scheme. If I had a physical condition, I wouldn't feel like I do, but I see that look in your eyes and it prevents me from talking to you. That look is born of fear, something I deal with every day. The visions I see, the voices I hear, the visions I see that you can't see, angry voices that won't go away. So my question is, why the avoidance? What's so strange about how I am? It happened to me and it could happen to you, only then would you understand. Underneath all this confusion is the person you've known for years, so look beneath this label that's creating a river of tears. To recover I need acceptance wherever I reside. To recover I need people to understand that mental illness dents the pride. To recover, I need employment, the chance to prove what I can do, a chance to be part of society, exactly the same as you. To recover, I need respect for what I go through. To recover, I need friends who genuinely care, but prove to me that they do. To recover, I need some structure instead of loneliness and social exclusion. Will I manage to recover? Will it simply remain an illusion? What I need is relapse prevention, a fence around the edge of this cliff. There's an ambulance below in the valley, but I'm left thinking, if only, what if? What if we had more resources? What if people understood? We'd have far less need for inpatient care, and we'd start seeing the trees for the wood. Recovery relies on so many things, but over and above, it will thrive on a need that's in all of us, but it can't happen without love. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgina, and thank you for kind of concluding the relatives' testimonies. I think what our three speakers have highlighted very clearly is the importance, again, of listening and how much we can learn from relatives' points of views. And I've got to say, from my own personal perspective, I know this is often sadly overlooked and relatives just feel that they don't get listened to enough.